The Dreamer's Journey, a moral story. In the quiet village of Eldergrove, nestled at the edge of a vast forest, there lived a young boy named Elian. He was unlike the other children, who played games and chased each other through the fields. Elian's head was always in the clouds, lost in thoughts that drifted between the lines of reality and dreams. While his friends spoke of practical matters, like the crops their families would harvest or the chores they would complete, Elian spoke of adventures with dragons, conversations with ancient trees, and voyages to the farthest stars. His mother, Amara, often worried about him. "Daydreams won't fill your stomach, my boy," she would say, gently tugging him back to reality when he spent too long staring out the window. His father, Cedric, was a man of few words but much action. He believed in hard work, in the value of each day, and though he loved his son, he worried that Elian's head was too full of fantasies for him to find his way in the world. But Elian could not help it. The stories called to him. They whispered from the rustling leaves in the wind, shimmered in the reflection of the river, and hummed softly in the night as the stars blinked overhead. One day, while wandering the outskirts of the forest, Elian came across an old man sitting by a worn stone path. The man's skin was as weathered as the bark of the oldest trees, his beard long and silver. He sat on a fallen log, whittling a small piece of wood into the shape of a bird. The moment Elian approached, the old man smiled, as though he had been waiting for him all along. "Ah, young dreamer," the man said in a voice like crackling firewood. "What brings you so close to the forest of whispers?" "The stories," Elian replied without hesitation. "I can hear them, but I don't understand them. They speak to me, but I don't know how to listen." The old man's eyes gleamed with a knowing light. "Not everyone hears the forest, you know. Most pass through life without ever understanding that the world around them has much to say. You, however, are different. But you must be careful, for the stories are powerful, and the wrong one can lead you astray." Elian felt a shiver run down his spine, but it was not fear, it was excitement. "Can you teach me how to understand them?" The old man chuckled softly. "That, young dreamer, is something you must learn for yourself. However, I can give you a gift to guide you." He reached into his tattered cloak and pulled out a small wooden charm shaped like a key. It was intricately carved, with patterns that seemed to shift and dance in the light. "This is the key of echoes. It will help you find the truth within the stories, but beware, for not all truths are pleasant." Elian took the key, feeling its weight in his palm, and a warmth spread through him. The old man stood, tapping his cane on the ground. "Go now, and follow the path into the forest. But remember, young dreamer, every step you take in pursuit of a story will change you. You must decide what kind of man you wish to be by the end of it." With that, the old man disappeared into the trees, leaving Elian alone on the edge of the forest. Elian's heart pounded with anticipation. He felt as though he was standing at the doorway of a grand adventure, and the stories that had always called to him now beckoned louder than ever. Elian walked into the forest of whispers, clutching the key of echoes. The air grew cooler, and the trees seemed to close in around him, their branches forming a canopy that blotted out the sun. Strange sounds filled the air, rustling leaves, the distant calls of unseen creatures, and, most of all, the soft murmurs of stories just out of reach. For what felt like hours, Elian wandered deeper into the forest. The path twisted and turned, sometimes disappearing entirely beneath his feet. The further he went, the more the stories began to take shape. Shadows moved between the trees, forming figures, some familiar, some strange. They whispered of forgotten battles, lost loves, and ancient mysteries buried deep within the earth. As night began to fall, Elian came to a clearing where an enormous oak tree stood. Its branches stretched high into the sky, and its bark was etched with symbols he did not recognize. At the base of the tree was a small door, barely noticeable unless one knew to look for it. Elian hesitated for a moment but then remembered the key of echoes. He held it up to the door, and to his surprise, it fit perfectly into a hidden keyhole. With a soft click, the door swung open, revealing a staircase leading down into the earth. Without a second thought, Elian descended the stairs. As he went deeper, the air grew warmer, and the sounds of the forest faded away. When he reached the bottom, he found himself in a cavern illuminated by a soft, golden light. In the center of the cavern was a pool of water, so clear it looked like liquid glass. Standing by the pool was a figure wrapped in a cloak of shadows. Its face was hidden, but its voice was clear and cold. "You have come seeking the truth of stories," it said. "But are you prepared to face the cost of knowing?" Elian stepped forward, his heart racing. "I want to understand the stories. I want to know what they mean." The figure gestured to the pool. "This is the mirror of echoes. It will show you the truths hidden within the stories, but you must be ready to accept what you see. Many who look into the mirror are changed forever, for truth is not always what we wish it to be." Elian stared at the pool, his reflection shimmering on its surface. He could feel the weight of the decision before him, but his curiosity was too strong to resist. He knelt by the pool and gazed into its depths. At first, he saw only his own reflection. But then the water began to ripple, and the image changed. He saw the village of Eldergrove, but it was not as he had left it. The fields were barren, the houses crumbling, and the people thought they were shadows of themselves, moving about without purpose or direction. He saw his mother, her face lined with worry, and his father, staring out at the empty fields with hollow eyes. Elian's heart clenched. "What is this? What happened to my village?" The figure's voice was calm and distant. "This is what happens when one forgets to live in the present, when dreams consume reality. The stories are powerful, but they are not a substitute for life. You, young dreamer, must learn the balance between dreaming and doing, or your village will fall into despair, as you chase shadows while the world around you crumbles." Tears welled in Elian's eyes as the image shifted again. This time, he saw himself, older and alone, wandering through the forest with no destination, always chasing the next story, never finding peace. His clothes were tattered, his face worn with age, and his eyes held a deep sadness. "No," Elian cried, pulling away from the pool. "I don't want that. I don't want to lose myself in the stories." The figure nodded slowly. "Then you must remember this: stories are meant to inspire, to guide, but they are not meant to consume. You must live your own story, young dreamer, or risk losing yourself in the tales of others." Elian felt a heavy weight settle over him. He realized, in that moment, the truth of the figure's words. He had been so consumed by his desire to escape into the world of stories that he had forgotten to live his own life. He had forgotten the people who loved him, the village that needed him. With a deep breath, Elian stood up. I understand now. I need to go back. The figure stepped aside, allowing him to leave. The key of echoes will remain with you, to help you find balance. Remember, young dreamer, the greatest story you will ever tell is your own. Elian left the cavern, retracing his steps through the forest. The journey back to the village felt shorter, as though the forest itself was guiding him home. When he emerged from the trees, the first light of dawn was breaking over Eldergrove. He walked through the village, seeing it with new eyes. The people were going about their day, preparing for the harvest, talking, and laughing with one another. Elian realized how much he had missed, how much he had been absent even when he was physically present. When he reached his home, he found his mother in the kitchen, kneading dough for bread. She looked up in surprise when she saw him. Elian? Where have you been? I've been lost, Elian said softly. But I'm home now. From that day forward, Elian learned to balance his dreams with his reality. He still listened to the stories, but he no longer allowed them to consume him. He helped his father in the fields, spent time with his mother, and became part of the village once again. And in doing so, he realized that his own life was a story worth living, one that was just beginning. Years later, when Elian became an old man, he would sit by the fire and tell his grandchildren tales of the forest of whispers, of the key of echoes, and of the mirror that had shown him the truth. The end.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. For more stories and helpful English tips, make sure to subscribe to English Whiz and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.